Some players are very upset that there's only two main healers in Wuthering Waves. "There's 3 floors in the tower!" they'll exclaim, and explain how they can't build all of their teams for these endgame modes. You can. You just need to find and experiment with other forms of sustain. Early tier lists and misunderstood mechanics painted the narrative that shields and shielders were some of the worst units in the game. There's a reason why you need to take these tier lists with a grain of salt. Wuthering Waves' current systems, specifically when it comes to sustain and buffing, provide many great benefits to using shielders over healers, especially across challenging content like hologram bosses and the Tower of Adversity. Today we'll be discussing the role of shields and what distinct advantages and disadvantages they have over healing, and how you can best utilize this unique set of characters across challenging content to maximize the value of your roster. When it comes to sustain and Wuthering Waves, there are 3 main pillars: healing, which undoes damage, shielding, which prevents damage, and damage reduction, which is, well, self-explanatory. There are only 2 characters that provide team-wide healing, but 3 characters who provide shielding, though Yanwu is only at sequence node 4. Every team can access damage reduction through the Bell-born Geochalone Echo. Some of these mechanics work better with each other than others. Shielding effectively gives an extension to your character's health bar, while damage reduction makes your health bar go down slower. Healing, on the other hand, only restores your health bar. In a lot of ways, damage reduction actually doesn't synergize that well with healing. The less damage you take, the less you need to heal. That brings us to the first advantage shields have over heals. Damage reduction increases the value of your shielding, while having less of an impact on healing. When damage reduction can be reliably slotted into every single team, this means that shields can give your characters a huge amount of effective health. The end result is that across late game content, shields work a lot better at preventing one-shots. Sure, you might not be able to tank a second hit from a big boss move, but you would have been one-shot with a healer anyways with less chance of survival. Verena or Baija with high sequence levels will give you a revive, but if your shielder is strong enough to tank a hit, you basically have 3 revives per team versus Verena's 1. What this ultimately means is that shields can allow you to take more risks with your on-fielded character, knowing that you will survive if you decide to push for more damage or more stagger reduction than you probably should, leading to an increased overall DPS. In terms of playstyle, shielders are far more proactive in rotations, while healing is more reactive. Shielding has a full value no matter where or when you activate it in your rotations, as long as you get your shield up before you take the damage. With 18 seconds of uptime on Tao Chi's shield and 30 seconds of uptime on John Sin's, that's a lot more uptime compared to Verena's 6 seconds of healing on her outro skill or 12 seconds of healing on her Resonance Liberation. This uptime is extremely important because of a few reasons. First, healing is completely useless if you're at full HP. If your main DPS character is on field longer than the uptime on your healer's healing, they'll be completely exposed at the end of their rotation. Second is that with a shielder like John Xin, that shield should last for the entire DPS's rotation. Third is that for characters like Calcharo, they oftentimes won't even receive a healer's outro skill buff and will instead use a different character's, which means that running Verena with him oftentimes gives him little to no sustain when he actually goes through his most damaging combos. On the other hand, a shielder provides all of their survivability and sustain to the party equally, which lets you be very selective about who receives an outro skill buff when using these characters. Additionally, healers oftentimes need Concerto energy to heal in the first place. Shielders use their abilities and Forte bar to create shields and generate Concerto energy. Depending on how your shield is gotten, this can have a large impact on team building. For example, Jin Si, a character who grants a free intro skill after her rotation, is incredible for battering Tao Chi or John Sin's Forte bar to give them impressive uptime. You can obviously use other fast Concerto energy gainers as well to help streamline this combination. As we get into what shielders provide to the team beyond their shield, they provide a lot of buffs. Every shielder can reliably run Rejuvenating Glow on top of their own unique outro skills. In terms of total damage buffs, they can actually exceed the performance of healers as the only support in the party. For example, Tao Chi will boost Jin Si's damage more than Verena. Verena obviously brings other advantages like faster Concerto energy, coordinated attacks, and a universal team buff, but Tao Chi is undeniably the best way to boost Jin Si's damage, as a 38% resonance skill boost is far more impactful than a 15% damage deepen for a character like Jin Si. On the other hand, this advantage on one team comp is a disadvantage to others. The rather specific outro skill buffs on characters like John Sin and Tao Chi make characters like Jian, whose damage profile doesn't really match their buffs, far less appealing. Additionally, going more with our cons, shield application can be interrupted. Mistiming the use of Tao Chi's intro skill in the middle of a boss's attack chain can be disastrous. However, identifying enemy mechanics and taking advantage of them can let you avoid these interruptions. Johnson's shield, for example, constantly regenerates over her forte bar's channel and refreshes at the end, which lets her tank attack chains that you'd normally be dodging multiple times for. You aren't able to damage the enemy very reliably during these windows anyways, so why not use this opening for her channel? You don't want to do this though before a heavily telegraphed large attack. All this means is that shields get better and more efficient the more you know about the game. Conversely, if you're a player who is constantly getting hit by enemy attacks, shields will drastically lose their effectiveness. With ever healers healing front-loaded at the start of their rotations, they can easily undo the mistakes a player makes. However, getting hit is a massive DPS loss anyways, due to how knockback and the time wasted recovering works. Another con of shields is that they can be very expensive investment-wise to work properly. A low investment healer will always regenerate your health, and can continuously do that to recover over a fight. A low investment shielder just adds a small amount of HP. You'll want to take these characters to a high level and have a decent set of echoes to fully utilize their advantages. It can be an expensive endeavor, but if your DPS characters are already well invested, opening up these opportunities in your roster can be worth it. Overall, I believe that a large reason why shielders aren't as popular is because they haven't been invested into. Healers are a safer and more reliable option for many players, especially in the overworld, while shields allow you to push damage windows and at times ignore boss movesets to maximize the potential of your team's rotations. They can have different advantages and disadvantages based off the content you're tackling. With that, hopefully this overview has highlighted the massive upside that shielders can bring to your Wuthering Waves gameplay. These characters, in my eyes, are some of the most misunderstood in the game when it comes to their strength. Who needs healing when you never take damage in the first place? I highly encourage every player to experiment with these characters and craft their teams. Peace out.